Hey, this is Pamela Rieman Schneider. I'm the retail editor for Blue Book Services, and this is the Produce Reporter Week in Review. Greg, I'm back in the office. You're in the office, but next week we're on the road.
We're both on the road next week. I'll be going to PBH, which has not had their annual conference since 2019. So that will be nice to get back and see people in Scottsdale, Arizona. And you will be going within the state of Texas.
Yeah, I know it still takes a while to get up there, but I'll be at Viva Fresh in Dallas for their second consecutive in-person event. It looks like a lot of people are ready to go, and I have a feeling we will have something to talk about, some fresh news to talk about as we have been covering this week. Basically a political thing where Texas and produce is getting stuck in the middle of a fight between the Texas governor and the Biden administration. The governor of Texas has decided to have the Department of Public Safety inspect trucks coming across the border after they've already been inspected for the produce part of that and the import part of that. They're doing safety inspections for reasons.
Well, it's political reasons. The result is the produce industry is caught in the crossfire, and both TIPA and FPAA have been loud and lobbying. I just read an editorial in the Wall Street Journal which quoted FPAA. It's really bad for business because trucks aren't able to get across. But you know, it's a political thing. We know it's a political thing. And you know, people get caught in the crossfire anytime this sort of thing happens. I mean, the produce industry has been in the middle of trade war problems with tariffs, with fruit exports. I mean, this is nothing new. It's a shame that this is coming at a time when we've already been dealing with supply chain problems, and so this is added to it, and added on top of that is more inflation. If it goes on very long, anything that's coming from Mexico is going to be scarce, and it's going to make, I mean, avocados are going to go through the roof if it goes on very long.
I mean, we already had an avocado issue with the USDA shutting down avocado imports for, what was it, just over a week? And we've already just recovered from that. I mean, we've got a lot of produce coming in at this time of year. This is when the Far Reynosa Bridge is the number one importer of Mexican produce. 2/3 of the produce eaten in Texas, and there's 30 million people in Texas, is from Mexico. And so this is going to cause some severe supply chain challenges. I think I read an estimated 2,000 trucks cross over the Far Reynosa Bridge every day, and they were down to at one time like 200 or something like that. The other thing that I've seen is I've reading a lot of articles from all over the media spectrum: AP News, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, all that stuff. A lot of recognizable names in produce have been quoted by these organizations. It seems like the business world is livid about being caught in the middle of this. Even the Texas Commissioner of Agriculture, Sid Miller, has called on the governor to stop doing this because of what it's doing to ag importers and to the ag industry.
Yeah, normally you don't see people within the same party criticizing each other, but that is happening in Texas. It is going to highlight, it highlights that the southern border has been a major problem, and it probably is going to take something dramatic to be addressed. And I suspect that that's the strategy of the Texas governor, because if he just keeps complaining that this border is a big problem and the Biden administration doesn't really seem interested in doing much about it, he's got to make a stink and a show. And unfortunately, our industry is the one that gets caught in that.
And I could recall one of the importers that we know pretty well said something on LinkedIn where, you know, Texas has generally been viewed as a very business-friendly state. And when political fights get into starting to interfere with business, then it makes the business people very angry. So he's taking a big risk, and we'll see if anything comes out of that. But I'm sure it will be a hot topic discussed up in Grapevine at the Gaylord. Viva Fresh goes from Thursday through Saturday, and then the PBH show goes, what, Monday, Wednesday?
Monday to Wednesday, that is correct.
All right. We had another story that had some legs this week. It was Richard Smoley's analysis of a Politico story that just came out, and it's really got some strong words for what's going on at the FDA, or the lack of anything going on at the FDA.
Yeah, it's a little odd for us to be talking that much about another media group. It's Politico is not a competitor of ours in our industry, of course. They cover politics, and they're based in DC, but they do cover agriculture reasonably well. I mean, a lot of what their coverage is partisan, but this FDA story is really impressive. They talked to over 50 people for this story, including many names in the food safety leadership in our industry, and the ones in government and former government who we talk to all the time. And the big result is it's FDA, but the focus has all been on the D and not any of the A, and it's been that way for a long time. And one of the things that makes this story unique is it's really not a partisan story, because they go back, probably certainly through the Obama years, probably into the Bush years, when we first started having these big outbreaks like the Spinach Crisis 15 years ago or longer, maybe. It's been a problem for a long time, and it's not one administration that's overseeing the FDA and seeing a lack of progress for agriculture and food safety. It's multiple administrations, and it's a huge problem. And certainly the last couple of years, their focus has been more on the drug side as we're dealing with the pandemic. But food safety continues to be an issue, and the produce industry keeps working with the government and hearing promises from the government, and then nothing from the government. And it's incredibly frustrating for our leaders in the industry.
I mean, reading some of the comments that Richard pulled out, and then in the article itself, you can see the frustration that you talked about. I mean, if you think back to, if you've been in the produce industry long enough, for me, one of the biggest events was the spinach outbreak. And how did the produce industry react to that? We launched the Center for Produce Safety, millions of dollars, joint collaborative efforts, traceability initiatives, California Leafy Greens marketing agreement. We have been extremely proactive in the produce industry to try to solve some of these problems, to try to help the government pinpoint issues. Especially one of the things that was really pointed out was the ag water issue and having feedlots so close to leafy greens organizations. And this is a problem that's not getting solved at all. And it seems like this article is pointing to just, nobody's getting it done. So maybe, giving everyone a chance to vent a little will draw some more attention to this within the government to get some things moving. Hopefully that the food part of the FDA, we will be reminding people that food comes first in the FDA. So maybe we can get a little bit of a closer seat at the table.
Well, if we were to prioritize, food is certainly more important, because if we're healthily fed, we don't need the drugs as much.
One can hope.
But also, part of the problem too is the incentive system. And produce companies are doing the right things and often not incentivized enough. And even when they have a voluntary recall or something, it seems like they get punished for doing the right thing when no one gets sick, and they feel like they're not getting a whole lot of help.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Anytime there's a voluntary recall, everyone wants to know about it. It's news and almost gossip. But when there's a voluntary recall and nobody gets sick, is it news?
It's certainly news, but it really should be viewed as positive news, because these companies are doing the right thing. And if there's a detection of a pathogen and they don't do a recall, no one hears about it. And that company does the wrong thing, and they are almost incentivized to keep it quiet.
Yeah,
So,
it's a no-win situation in a lot of this stuff. So hopefully we can see some kind of movement spurred on by this article, or at least awareness of all that the produce industry is doing to be proactive in food safety, that perhaps is just getting bogged down in government BS.
Well, it's also hard to pin down because we know that there are people at FDA who are proactive and are working hard and working with the industry. And there's somebody above them at a certain level that is holding them back. And this story doesn't name names on that. But when you see names of people who are doing the right thing, you can eliminate those within FDA. And then we can have a little bit more of an idea of where the problems are. And hopefully the heat starts to get on those people and things start moving in the right direction again.
All right, well, we will definitely keep an eye on this and keep an eye on trucks at the border. I'll let you know what I find out next week. And hopefully it's not just a bunch of angry importers. And I have a feeling there will be plenty. There will be plenty of those guys. Hopefully they go relax on the golf course before we get started. There are not one but two golf tournaments.
Some golf will calm them down, hopefully.
Well, I will call in from said golf next week as I'm on the road, but that's it for this week's Produce Reporter Week in Review. If you are not getting the Produce Reporter twice a day, if you are not getting the Produce Reporter twice a day, you need to go to producebluebook.com and sign up. Okay, happy Easter.
Yeah.
This bouquet had a Easter egg in it, but my dog thought it was a toy.
Oh, so now it's gone. A real egg or plastic?
No, it was like a foam egg. And Uli was playing with it and Chewy was like, yoink, that's mine. I got it.